Hello, reporter room investigators. Come on in, come on in. I'm so happy to see you today. Today, we're going to be talking about the Bryan Kohberger case. There's been so much new information. We have a lot to get through. I think I have 11 or 12 packages ready. Plus, I prepped a video. I enhanced photos of the selfie for you guys to look at. So come on in. Tell me where you're from. My name is Jessica Davies. I'm an investigative journalist, and my job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects, and share with you how to do the same thing. If you have not subscribed, please do. And thank you to everybody who subscribed and helped me get to 40,000 subscribers. Subscribing is free and it helps me out a lot. Like, share, leave a comment, and know that everything I'm sharing is my opinion. Thank you to our subscribers, our mods, and our channel members. Our channel members are the ones with the red, green, and blue verified check marks, and our mods are the ones with the wrenches. So today we're going to be talking about the latest text messages by the roommates. They were posting on social media the morning of the crimes. We're going to talk about the Tappa Talk posts, and we're going to see how these affect the trial. The enhanced photos, I'm going to show you those. I enhanced those for you guys yesterday. Now, BK's new selfie, which I have up here by me, and the purchase of the knife on Amazon. And we're going to talk about the DNA, the new DNA. So it's been a whirlwind of the last couple of weeks, you guys. So come on in, tell me where you're from, and let's get started.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Okay, so you guys know I like to get started right away. I do want to just say how proud I am of our true crime community here on Reporter Room for sticking with credible sourcing and information. Thank you to all of you. This is a critical thinkers channel for highly intelligent viewers who want to have all the information so that they can make up their own mind. And I'm glad you're here. And I do plan on airing the Bryan Kohberger trial. Jury selection is supposed to begin July 30th. So I hope you guys, if you haven't subscribed and hit the notification bell, please make sure to do that. So Bryan Kohberger was a member of the visual snow or static forum called Tappa Talk. And let me pull that up for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. So we have not talked about this, and I'm just wondering how this is going to affect the trial. So he had an account on when he was a teenager on an online forum called Tappa Talk. So his username was XR with 2 R's dot those with visual snow. And there was a profile picture that resembled BK. And I am talking about this case in terms of Bryan Kohberger. I do want to make it clear that he's innocent until proven guilty. So there was 118 posts from this account from more than 10 years ago. And many of them are very intriguing. We're going to look at some of these. But according to the New York Times, the account was connected to Bryan Kohberger. They were able to check through childhood friends. They were able to reference his birthday, and also the fact that a username matched an email account that was once used by him. So they did do their due diligence, which is why I like to use credible sourcing. So he joined Tappa Talk on November 1st of 2009, and he was last active on February 20th of 2012. And a lot of people have wondered if maybe the reason that Bryan Kohberger did not see Dylan when she peeked out the door that third time, if he is the perpetrator, is because of the visual snow, because it can affect you directly. So it can affect you here, but it can also just affect your periphery. So it could be here or here. So if he just had it in his periphery, he might not have seen her, especially in the dark. So, but that's not what we're going to talk about. What I want to talk about are these posts and what these mean, and if these will play a role in his mental health. We know Ann Taylor is going to be bringing in The fact that she believes he has autism, according to an expert that I believe that was hired recently. So this was according to Visual Snow Initiatives. Visual snow, for those of you that don't know, it is a neurological condition that affects the person's vision, hearing, and quality of life. And again, it could just affect your periphery back here. It could be here or it could really be here. I don't think for him it affected his vision. I don't even know for sure if he had visual snow or if he just had some symptoms and then he attributed them to visual snow. But he says, quote, I always feel like as if I'm not there, completely depersonalized. And I thought, wow, that's very, very interesting. Let me pull up one of his posts, make sure we're all looking at the same thing. I move myself out of the way here. Let me make myself a little smaller. Okay. All right. So let's this is one of the posts, and it says I have had this horrible depersonalization. Now depersonalization is or derealization is a disorder that affects your self-awareness and your identity, and it results in a feeling of disassociation. And we are going to talk about the roommate's text messages, look at the enhanced photos, and talk about the new DNA in just a second, so please stay with me. But it's often felt as a sense of unreality or detachment from one's own body. Now dissociation can be triggered by stress, experiencing or witnessing a disturbing event, um, but it can also just be transient. It can come and it can go. So was he really having depersonalization? Was he having some psychiatric um, things? Because let's go through some of what this post said. He says, I have had a horrible depersonalization go on in my life for almost 2 years. And so, obviously at this point, he's, feeling very distressed about this. I often find myself making human interactions, but it's if I'm playing a role playing game such as Oblivion. I can see what's going on. I'm slightly into it, but I can pause the game and focus on my real life. In this case, my life is the game, and my old self can be reached by pausing the game. But how? So it sounds like even at a younger age, and you can see this is the picture. Let me make sure I'm not in front of it, and I am. Let me move myself over here so you can. That is Bryan Kohberger. I'm in that picture. Okay. So let me move myself back. Just wanted to show you that. I can move myself down a little bit too. Okay. So, and the New York Times did verify that it was him. So he says, um, so it just sounds like already I don't know if he had symptoms of visual snow or if he just was feeling disconnected from other human beings and his interactions. He says, I often think of things that humans do, things I've done my whole life. I feel like an organic sack of meat with no self worth. And I'm starting to view everyone as this. So this is really concerning, that he was already, even as a teenager, not only viewing himself as an organic sack of meat, but viewing other people as an organic sack of meat. He said, everything I've done makes no sense. How did things get this way? How am I wearing this shirt? And who decided that humans wear t shirts like this? Are we all just advanced animals with possession? Or is there more? More I can't see. I can't connect. So, was this, an early sign of some type of, you know, disorder that he was just not connecting with other people? And as a teenager, obviously, if he is found guilty of this, he took it to the extreme, right? Viewing other people as sacks of meat. But he says, I can't connect. I view everything as I would if I was playing Oblivion, pointless and full of nothing, out of reality. I'm moving out of my house. My last holidays were already lived, but where was I? As my family group hugs and celebrates, I'm stuck in this void of nothing, feeling completely no emotion, feeling nothing. So he is able to express how he's feeling. And he's telling us even as a teenager, he didn't feel anything. And he was viewing not only himself as an organic sack of meat, but starting to see other people as that. He said, so I'm wondering if this is going to come in either from the prosecution or maybe from the defense to show he was having trouble connecting with people even as a teenager. He said, as I hug my family, I look into their faces, I see nothing. It's like I'm looking at a video game, but less. I feel less than mentally damaged. It's like I have severe brain damage. I'm stuck in the depths of my mind where I have to constantly battle my demons. Am I here or am I fake? I feel myself slipping away. I hear screams faintly, but I constantly battle from it. What if I let go? Where would I be? If he is found guilty, I mean, if the jury finds him guilty, I think we know where this ends, but we'll see. It's up to the jury to decide. Would I ever come back to reality? I try to remember where I originated from, but I can't remember. I barely remember my childhood. I often fear being 80 years old, alone, and having faint memories of my parents, everything I missed out on. I think my father, what a good man he is, how I treat him like dirt because I have this condition and I can't take it. I might spiral out of control and lose myself in the void. I can't let it all go. All of these regrets I predict for my future self, all of these thoughts of remorse. I got this when I was in my stage of discovery. Now I look in the mirror and I see this sickly, tired, useless, and stupid man in the mirror. He is a complete disgrace. He doesn't even deserve to live. So he says he talks about remembering when he was 15, he would wander alone at 2 a.m. Everything was so generic. Nowhere felt like home. I saw things that were not there, a different reality. I felt eerie or alone. And he says, he used the D word, passed away during those nights. I felt like a criminal, but where was my record? I can't talk without flinching. I used to be a healthy blonde haired boy with blue eyes. And in a few years, I have darker hair, darker eyes, half the body weight. Where did I leave off? So this is really concerning in my opinion. And he has, according to this article, he has hundreds of these posts. Um, and the last line reads, when I get home, I'm mean to my family. This started when visual snow did. Now, I don't know if he actually had visual snow or if he was just looking up symptoms and attached it to this. We'll see if Ann Taylor decides she's going to present this or not. But he said, I can say and do whatever I want with little remorse. Everyone hates me because and I can't say this word, and if you're digging into the other half that. Um, so Thomas Art, she's a former friend of BK's, told the New York Times that BK frequently talked about issues with his vision. So I do believe, just from listening to his friend, it does sound like he had visual snow. He said, quote, I know it was something that really bugged him. He was basically to the point where he was neurotic about it. Well, we already know from, Ann Taylor that he, has obsessive compulsive disorder. But nearly 2 months later, in a July 4th post, let me pull this up so you guys can see. Let me move myself over here. Okay. In a July 4th post on Tapatalk titled, Can You Relate? He expressed low self-esteem. And this is the one I just shared with you where he feels like an organic sack of meat with no self-worth as I'm starting to view everyone as this. So I'm wondering, if this was the beginning of some sort of psychopathy, if what we're seeing here is somebody who's, realizing they don't feel things the same way that other people feel things and, are having difficulty relating to his family. He talks about, as my family group hugs and celebrates, I'm stuck in a void of nothing, feeling completely no emotion, feeling nothing. So I'm wondering if this is why he went into and started using medications, to help himself to feel something. Um, and, if this was the beginning of some type of psychopathy. What do you guys think? Well, let's continue on with this. And then I do want to talk, we're going to dig into uh, the Amazon searches. We're going to go through the roommate texts and messages and posts that they made that morning. And we're going to look at the enhanced photos of BK's selfie that was taken at 10:31 a.m. on the just hours after Ethan, Maddie, Xana, and Kaylee were all done away with. We're going to talk about the Amazon history, the DNA, the new DNA evidence. I've got a lot to go through. I've got tons of packages. So I have, I think, 11 packages on this. So let's go ahead and dig into this. So I wanted to go through that with you because I thought this might be something that Ann Taylor chooses to bring in. I have a feeling that her expert may attribute this to autism, and I'm wondering if the prosecution is going to counter by attributing this to some type of psychopathy, because people who have autism do feel compassion and empathy for other people. They just have trouble expressing it. But when they've done imaging on people's brains that have, sociopathy or psychopathy versus people who have autism, people that have autism, their brains react with empathy to images or with feeling disturbed by certain images. Whereas people who have sociopathy or who are psychopaths, their brains do not react with empathy to images like this. So they've done a lot of studying on this, just to differentiate. So I would really love to know if there's been a brain study done by this expert that's diagnosed him with the autism and what that showed. So let me grab the next package. We have so much good information that we just didn't have before. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is we're going to talk about the knife sheath. The prosecutors are saying that BK bought the K-bar knife 8 months before the crimes. I reported out to you last year that we had reporting here at Reporter Room that showed that the knife had been purchased. That prosecutors were saying, well, they didn't leak it. Law enforcement did. Somebody leaked it, but that law enforcement had leaked that there were searches, and they did show up that he had purchased the knife in the spring of 2022. We're going to talk about the click activity and how this relates, and then we're going to get into the roommate text messages. We're also going to go through the enhanced photos too. So let's go ahead and do this first. We'll talk about the Amazon search. So it's believed that Bryan Kohberger did use a large fixed blade knife to do away with Kaylee, Maddie, and Ethan. And now there's more evidence that proves this. Now, law enforcement, we know they found the K-bar knife sheath underneath and to the side of Maddie, and that it reportedly has BK's DNA on it. Now, this week, prosecutors allegedly discovered, and this is an older article that I'm reading to you. So this is sources that I was using back last year, but we're also finding out from prosecutors now in motions. So we were getting it from sources, but now we're also finding out prosecutors are saying that BK did purchase the K-bar knife. And when I was looking at Ann Taylor's motion to suppress the Amazon searches, I told you guys that I was pretty sure he had purchased the knife on Amazon, because she was really going to town to try to get the searches suppressed. Now, the judge is going to be making a whole bunch of rulings at the next hearing. We're going to be streaming that here on Reporter Room, and that is April 9th. So please hit the notification bell so you don't miss that hearing. But the police found the K-bar knife under Maddie. It allegedly has BK's DNA on the inside snap. And prosecutors are saying that he purchased this knife and a sheath and a knife sharpener, all on Amazon. And my sourcing on this is Fox News and Business and Politics. There's also been this lore around using a knife in a crime like this that's particularly personal. This is according to Boise, Idaho defense attorney who's been following the case. And then the time of the search that links it to him, if this is correct, to this weapon shows a significant level, or at least I'm sure the prosecution will argue, shows a significant level of premeditation. And I think the fact that he purchased the knife in the spring of 2022, this might have been something that, he was fantasizing about for a long time. So let me just show you this really quick, and then I'm going to click back to, um, but she says she categorizes this as being catastrophic for the defense, which is why I think Ann Taylor is working so hard to prevent the jury from seeing this purchase of this knife. Joseph Giacalone, who's a retired NYPD sergeant, told Fox News that digital records often make it harder for criminals and easier for investigators and law enforcement. He said, quote, electronic evidence is going to bring this case to a head for sure. It's amazing. He reported this out on Fox News Digital. He said, I said cell phone records, internet records, and video surveillance are things that are going to solve most cases going forward. Having this type of information is extremely damaging. I think this is really going to be a problem, and Ann Taylor does understand this, which is why I think she's, filed this motion to suppress this evidence from coming before the jury. Now, her argument is that she feels it will prejudice the jury. You could say that about every single piece of evidence. Of course, it's going to prejudice the jury in the sense that it's going to affect how they feel about it. If they have a knife found underneath and to the side of Maddie with BK's DNA on it, and now they can prove that he purchased the knife on Amazon, of course this is going to affect it. And please don't hate the messenger. I am reporting out the news. I know some people get upset that, I don't know what to tell you. This is what's happening right now. And like I said earlier, if you like to have all the information so you can make up your own mind, you're in the right place. So the he feels like this is going to be catastrophic for the defense. He said, I said cell phone records, internet records, and video surveillance are things that are going to solve most cases going forward, and having this type of information is extremely damaging. Now, BK's defense team is going to try to keep his Amazon history out of the trial, arguing in part that the platform's algorithm shape users' behavior. So the argument, to sum it up, is the algorithm made me do it. I think that's a pretty succinct way of saying it. But the prosecutor for Latah County, the deputy prosecutor, Ashley Jennings, argued otherwise. Now, her argument in a court filing made public on Wednesday evening was that applying for the test for relevancy first, BK's click activity, and we're going to talk about the roommate's text in just a moment, so please stay with me. But the BK's click activity, which shows a purchase of a K-bar knife and sheath before the crimes, make it more probable than it would be without the evidence that the K-bar knife sheath found at the crime scene was Bryan Kohberger's. She says, second, Kohberger's click activity after the homicides makes it more probable than it would be without the evidence, and that Kohberger had a reason to search for a K-bar knife and sheath after. So, it's worse than just the fact that he had it, that he purchased this in the spring of 2022 from Amazon in March of 2022, to be specific. It's worse than that, because after the crimes were committed, after Ethan, Sienna, Kaylee, and Maddie were done away with, he went, of course, we know the knife sheath was lost. It was left at the crime scene. And we know that the K-bar knife was probably disposed of. But then he went back in and researched for another K-bar knife and sheath after November 13th of 2022. Now, Judge Hippler has not ruled on this, and I'm going to stream the hearing. He gets to decide. I don't get to decide. So don't hate the messenger. But Judge Hippler has not ruled on the motion that excludes Amazon's evidence, according to Fox News, but did deny BK's request to hear an expert on the Amazon data. Ann Taylor wanted to have, kind of what she did with Latah County Judge John Judge, where she had her experts come in and testify for the judge. This judge has said, no, they can be on standby. If I need anything, I'll ask them, but I don't need them to come in and testify. And then this is what Nima Rami said she's a former federal prosecutor. She said this is the smoking gun evidence in the case. So I do think this is a huge problem, in my opinion. Um, let me know what you think, and let's check in. I'm going to check in with chat in just a second. So come on in, tell me where you're from. We're going to go into the roommates text messages next, but let's listen in on this knife replacement. This is Ashley Banfield from News Nation.
We now know a lot about Kohberger's so-called click history at Amazon. Yesterday, I told you that he bought a K-bar knife, identical to the murder weapon, 8 months before the university students were murdered. He also bought a K-bar knife sheath, identical to the one that was left behind at the crime scene. And for good measure, he bought a knife sharpener, according to the prosecutor's list of Amazon purchases. But now we know he was looking to buy something else, a so-called replacement K-bar knife and sheath. And this was after the murders happened. Remember?
And I think again, these coincidences, one thing can be explained away. Well, a shower curtain was taken down because some people are afraid of germs. He had OCD. His car matches the car that's caught on the CCTV camera. He was driving around that night. But it's getting hard. But his DNA being found on that snap, on that knife sheath, found underneath and to the side of Maddie, and then finding out, them being able to prove that he purchased it on Amazon, and then him searching for a replacement is such, in my opinion, it's going to be huge for the prosecution. It's going to be hard for Ann Taylor to overcome this.
Remember, the killer made that critical mistake and left the knife sheath next to the bodies of Kaylee Goncalves and Maddie Mogan. The murder weapon has never been found, so it stands to reason that the killer might need a replacement for both the knife and the sheath, if anyone ever came around asking. And of course, someone came around asking Bryan Kohberger. By the way, we also got to see
so what she's referring to is the fact that law enforcement, when we have all of these, the affidavit with all the things that they collected that they found at his Pullman, Washington apartment, from inside his Hyundai Elantra, the car, from his parents' Albrightsville, Pennsylvania home, from his office at WSU. And what was not on there? A K-bar knife, a knife sheath. Those were not listed on there. So I think that's going to be, and the fact that he was searching for another one after is going to be a problem, in my opinion. Let's continue on together, shall we? Let's continue on.
The selfie that Bryan Kohberger himself snapped in what appears to be his bathroom, a bathroom.
And I am going to show you enhanced photos of this, but if you look at this right here, you can see the shower curtain is there. So a lot of people said, well, some people don't ever use a shower curtain. Well, there was a shower curtain there. So it was removed because when prosecutors went in, they said that there was no shower curtain and all the trash had been emptied.
But we know this, that picture with the shower behind him was taken just 6 hours after the murders and an hour and a half before 911 was even called. He is smiling. He's giving a thumbs up about something. Seemingly does not have a care in the world and looks pretty proud of, again, something.
And this selfie was taken at 10:31 a.m. on November 12th. Sorry, November 13th of 2022. It was taken the morning of the crimes.
This was taken after tracking shows that Kohberger's cell phone visited the King Road area twice just that morning, traveling from his student apartment across the state line in Washington. And with all of this new information, we have a new theory about why he might have felt compelled to go back to the murder scene in the morning, if indeed he's the murderer. I'm joined again by News Nation's senior national correspondent, Brian Enton, who's been going through these documents. Boy, we didn't sleep much last night going through these documents. No. We're on FaceTime, just finding one thing after another.
So they're going to share with us a new theory. My theory is that he tried to go back to see if he could get the knife sheath. A lot of people thought maybe he was doing a looky-loo around. And I'm wondering if this is when that Vans shoe print was left. And remember, Ann Taylor wanted to keep that out of evidence also. And think about it, if that Van's shoe print had been a size that was different from Bryan Kohberger's shoe size, she would have wanted that to come in because that would help to exonerate him. If that Van's shoe print didn't match any shoes that BK had ever purchased, she would want that shoe print to come in because, again, it would exonerate him. She could say to the jury, it's the shoe size is a different size from my client, and the shoe size, he's never owned a pair of this type of shoes. She didn't say that. The only thing she tried to argue was that it was going in a direction that didn't line up with what Dylan said, and the judge disagreed, and the Van's shoe print is coming in. But let's listen to what their theory is, because I'm very curious.
So let's talk about first this replacement knife and sheath. That I actually missed the first time around. When I saw that he bought the knife and the sheath and the sharpener 8 months before the murders, it was a eureka moment. But then came in the footnotes, this replacement knife and sheath. So walk me through your thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of buried. It was like hundreds of pages of documents. And you mentioned that we were going through them till like 1 a.m. together. And I was also so struck by the fact that he bought the knife and the sheath, according to prosecutors, that I missed this one little teeny line in one of the state documents until I found it in the middle of the night, which is really, really interesting. They say that after the murders, so he bought the knife and the sheath before the murders, they say, but after the murders, they went through his click history on his Amazon account and that he was searching for a knife and sheath, which is very, very interesting when you think about why, perhaps. Did he suddenly realize that, he realized that he left the knife at the scene and wanted to have a knife in case police came knocking on the door and said, "Where's the knife?" So that's one possible
left
reason,
left the sheath
really an interesting piece
at the
of information.
scene, right? Like left the sheath at the scene and then disposed of the murder weapon somewhere. It's never been found. We presume that if he's the killer, he took an hour to get back home, what would have been a 10-minute drive. So maybe circled somewhere far and wide and disposed of that knife. And then here's the other thing. Don't know when or if he knew, oh, dear God, I don't have the sheath. So let's talk about that next morning, because at like 9 in the morning, the cops don't know yet. The roommates don't know yet. 911 hasn't been called yet for hours. His Elantra is driving by the house again.
And I think the 9 a.m. drive by the Elantra is really interesting in lieu of the selfie we have where he does look freshly showered. So I do wonder if he went back into the crime scene a second time and then came back and took another shower just to be on the safe side. What do you guys think? Let's continue on together, shall we?
Yeah, they've got the surveillance video that shows him back near the house near 9:32 a.m., which makes you wonder what was going on there. Did he realize at that point that he had left the sheath behind and was perhaps going back and considering trying to get it again? Was he just going back to gawk and sort of, you hear about when people set a fire, an arsonist, and they want to go like kind of see the place burn. We don't know why he went back, but the selfie that you showed again in the intro, which is like so creepy to look at with the thumbs up and the shower in the background and like the kind of smirk, there it is. The selfie was taken at 10:31 a.m. So it's all very close together. He went back to the apartment or to the house, according to prosecutors, around 9:32, and then took the selfie an hour later at 10:31.
So I am wondering if this Van's shoe print came because, and remember, neighbors reported seeing that front door at the 1122 King Road open. They reported seeing that door open. I'm wondering if he would have gone in, gone upstairs, and then come back out. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he just sat out in the car or looked around outside. But there was a reason that he went back to the crime scene, maybe just to, feel how good it felt. But I really have to wonder if he didn't realize he had left that knife sheath, and maybe that's why he went back. What do you guys think? We're going to continue watching this interview. I do want to check in with chat. Come on in. Tell me where you're from. Come up and talk to me. If you're not there, and we still have so much to unpack. We're going to be going through the DNA, the new DNA evidence. We're going to be talking about the the messages and social media that was going on with Dylan and Bethany that morning. And I also enhanced, um, I spent yesterday enhancing the images of that selfie to do close-ups on it. So we still have a lot of stuff to unpack. So let me just check in with chat and bring your questions. Come on up and talk to me. But I do feel like the coincidences are starting to add up. Let me know if you have a different feeling on it. We don't all have to agree. We're not going to all agree on every single case. You might not agree with me on this one, and you might agree with me on the Delphi case. You might agree with me on Sebastian Rogers, but not this one. That's fine. I'm just going to bring you all the information. You don't have to agree with me. And you can make up your own mind. And I'm always open to hearing other people's theories. I do want to thank you so much for modding today, and Jazz as our head mod, and thank you to Leslie so much. And I saw Mike in here too. Let me see, brother Mike. Thank you so much for modding today. Really, really appreciate it. Let me make myself a little bit smaller. Okay. Let's see who's here. Yeah, we hit 40K. So if you commented under yesterday's video, you have been entered in the giveaway. So I posted a post about that yesterday. Hi, Christine. Okay, so let's come on in. Tell me where you're from. Thank you, Mike, for your positivity and encouragement. Hi, Las Vegas girls. Come on in and tell me where you're from. Tracy is here. Jody is here. If you think that this purchase of the knife sheath, along with the searching for a replacement knife sheath after the crimes were committed, so the purchase before in March of 2022 on Amazon, and then searching on Amazon after these crimes were committed for another knife and knife sheath. If you think this is going to be a problem for Ann Taylor, put a 1 in the chat. If you think this is not going to be a problem for Ann Taylor, put a 2 in the chat. If you think that the judges either won't let the searches come in, or you don't think that the jury's going to think it matters that much, put a 2 in the chat. I'm just kind of want to see where people are at on this. Hi, King Scarlet. Welcome from California. Jody, thank you so much for modding today. Hi, Texas Life. Tracy's here. Anthony's here. Las Vegas girl's here. Florence is here. Lone Wolf is here. Welcome. Mike is here. Thanks for modding today, Mike. Kimmy thinks the dude is cooked. Thank you for modding today, Kimmy. Gonk says, why does he look so pale like Dracula in that picture? I don't know. He does look really pale. Now, this would have been taken in November. So maybe he just, I don't know. I don't sun myself at all. So, but I'm a female. I can put like some bronzer on to brighten myself up a little bit, but, maybe as a guy, he didn't get a lot of sun. I'm not sure why he's so white, but his face is very white. His knuckles look very white, but his hands do, look pink. So I'm not really sure why. I wish I knew, Gonk. Lana says, hello, everyone. Hey, welcome. Thank you so much to Brother Mike for the super sticker. Wow. Thank you so, so much. Let me also say thank you to NJAZ for the gifted channel memberships. If you got that, tell me who you are. Thank you so much, NJAZ. And I'm going to be gifting out 10 memberships starting on this Tuesday's live stream for reaching 40,000 subscribers. So NJAZ and Brother Mike will be giving those out from Reporter Room. And then we also have the giveaway, which I'll be posting. So look for that in the community section. Thank you so much, Pam, for the $1.99 super sticker. That is really, really nice of you. Thank you so much. All right, let's see what else we have. Orange, what is here under your scars? Come on in, guys. Tell me where you're from. Donna's here. Texas is here. Princess Elsa's here. Under your scars says multiple M. Don't use that word in chat. I like that you misspelled it, or just misspell it. Doesn't occur from that. And high IQ schooling. Oh, you're talking about the visual snow? Thank you for sharing that. Micro Kimmy says, this is clearly manic. Dude doesn't know how to use the space bar. Ophelia, thank you for that. Hi, welcome. Mike says, I'm thinking he was online and trying to gain friends and sympathy. Maybe he didn't have that. He's self-diagnosed. I don't know. That's what I'm wondering too. He does, according to Ann Taylor, have some OCD. So maybe he was like obsessing about that, or maybe he really does have visual snow. Maybe that's why he didn't see Dylan if he is the perpetrator. Lone Welsh says, I've had depersonalization as part of a depression. Yeah, it can happen as a result of a depression. You know what else can cause it? Is using a certain medication. Remember, they found green leafy substances in a bag at his parents' Albrightsville, Pennsylvania home. That can also cause depersonalization for some people, not all people, but some. So it could have been something like that too, Lone Wolf. Thank you for sharing that. Texas Life Julie said, if he had symptoms or claimed autism, has he been tested? That's what I want to know. He has, I'm sure Ann Taylor's going to put an expert on the stand. My question is, did they do the brain scan test, the empathy test with the brain scans to differentiate between autism and sociopathy or psychopathy? Because people with autism, they just have trouble expressing compassion. They have trouble expressing love, but they feel it. If you've seen the show, it's on Netflix. It's called Love on the Spectrum. And you see, they do love and care about each other, but they have trouble communicating it with each other. But you can just see how much compassion and empathy that people who are on the spectrum have. They just have trouble expressing it, and they have trouble reading yours. You have to, very clearly say it to them. I love you, and just be very clear about it. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see, what the expert says. And if now Ann Taylor also doesn't want the prosecution to be able to use the word sociopathy or psychopathy, because I think what the prosecution is going to want to do is, in response to this, is they're going to want to put their own expert on the stand and maybe testify that these are all, these are more likely signs of sociopathy and psychopathy. And that's why I'm wondering if that Tapatox account is going to factor in, because man, that shows depersonalization. He's already viewing himself as an organic sack of meat, and he's telling us as a teenager, and I think that one was written when he was around 17 years old, that he views other people that way. So that's that's different. It's a problem. Karen says visual snow can proceed to migraine headaches. And Jess thinks she's arrogant. Hey, Grudge Truck. Let's see. Lana said he definitely self-diagnosed the visual snow. I can't remember who said it, though. Oh, that's interesting. Brother Mike wants to know, why would a sack of meat go to college? Well, what I'm wondering is if he began to really feel like he was, trying to. Okay, this is my feeling about it. I think the reason that he got into, he was an H user, he used medications, and I think, he was, that this would have made him feel like everything was okay. It would have made him feel something if he wasn't feeling anything. It would have given him an overall really good sense of well-being. And so, maybe, that was an effort on his part to try to feel something. I mean, I don't know. If he's found guilty of doing this and did do this, then to me, that falls into the category of sociopathy or psychopathy. And I'm going to say more psychopathy, because sociopathy usually happens because of something in his childhood. His mom was a special educations teacher. His dad was, I think, a janitor at the school. I mean, his parents seem like good people. He describes his dad as a good guy, and that he sees his family hugging and being happy, and he doesn't feel anything. So, yeah, I don't know. Thank you, Donna, so much and thank you to all of you guys. We're going to do a celebration for the 40K. I'm going to do it on Tuesday when we announce the winner of the giveaway from yesterday's video. So if you're subscribed and you commented on yesterday's video, you were entered in the giveaway. Mike said he could see pretty well. Obviously, he can drive in pitch black. Yeah, that's why I'm wondering if he has either self-diagnosed, or if he has peripheral snow, but it's here, like because it could be back here. Visual snow, sorry, if it's in his periphery, like back here or here. And definitely, I don't think it's here, because he doesn't even wear glasses. Hey, Boo Sheet. Grunge Sex is questioning the entire meaning of life, and the other one is very common. Gong says still no history of, not that we know of, not that I've heard. Nope, not that we know of. I mean, we do have, the only thing I know about is that, he got arrested for stealing his sister's cell phone. That's all I know about. Claire Ive says it sounds like he was disassociating. Sharon thinks teens always go through a period of self-discovery, many taking psychology to figure themselves out. Mike says he was angry, but no, I don't believe he attacked anyone before. Donna says, sounds like a spoiled brat, gated community, rich kids try me a river. Hi, Claire. Lone Wolf says, I don't find his post mean to anything sinister. At points in my life, I felt exactly the same, like I was in the Truman Show. Wow. That sounds really scary, Lone Wolf. Barbara says, hello, everyone. Justice for Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. Thank you for remembering the victims. All right, well, let's continue on because they're going to share their theory on why he went back to the house that day.
Which again, if he's the killer and the killings happened between 4 and 4:30 and he didn't get home till 5:30, you think that would be the first shower, right? If you're covered in that evidence. And so this looks like a fresh shower. And again, this is at 10:30. So this is, 5 hours after he would have returned home from the murders. Again, if he's the killer. So now I want to bring in another piece that is tied to all of this, because as we're trying to figure out, if he's the killer, was he going back to the house in the morning gawking and looking for action, or was he going back to find the knife sheath that perhaps he realized, dear God, I've dropped a critical piece of evidence? And that's now where I'm sticking, because there's some more evidence that came out in these documents that will take you there, and I'll explain it. So the state apparently did test runs through this house, parking a car, walking from where the killer's car would have been to the door, entering the house, going up the stairs, pretending, to have killed 2 people, coming down the stairs, down the hall, killing 2 other people, and then making your way out of the house and back to the vehicle. And the key words that are used in the test run is taking off the bloody clothes.
Remember, last year, not most people didn't, but there was a few people that were like, oh, that's not true. Bethany didn't see anyone taking things off. And I reported it out to you last year that she did, this was, that I showed you the sourcing on it. And then I still had people this year telling me, no. And I said in the last live stream that I did think that she is going to be another eyewitness. I don't think she's, saw anything beyond somebody taking something off from the back. I don't know if she'll be able to say anything about the color of hair or anything like that, but this would explain, a lot about the DNA transfer. But I told you that the Judge Hippler had said that she could testify because Ann Taylor did not want the jury to hear from her. And I shared with you all of the information about how Ann Taylor first had wanted to interview Bethany when she first heard about this, that Bethany had seen someone. And then after, her investigator got to interview Bethany, then she tried to have Bethany's testimony excluded. So I told you that I in my opinion, I shared with you that I didn't think this was good for Bryan Kohberger, because if it's good for the defense team, they want it to come in. If it's bad for the defense team, Ann Taylor is going to work very hard to keep it out. So I agree, and I think that it's not just going to be Dylan who's going to have some eyewitness testimony. It's also going to be Bethany.
And then driving away. First of all, I can't believe they did these tests, and they determined it is possible. It is possible to do all that in a very short amount of time. But taking those bloody clothes off, it made me wonder, if Kohberger's the killer and he was taking off those bloody clothes and didn't see in the darkness that the knife sheath, might have gone off with the clothing, perhaps that's why he came back and spent 9 minutes at that house looking at the place where perhaps he had taken those clothes off the night before.
And that would explain why that front door was open. And it would also account for what I believe was probably a second shower. That picture of him standing in front of the shower with the shower curtain there, in my opinion, that was probably a second shower, because if he did do this, he's innocent until proven guilty. But if he did do this, the smart thing, and I do think he is smart, the smart thing would have been to shower immediately when you got home, so you don't transfer anything around your apartment by accident.
It's possible, or maybe he left some of the bloody clothes out, or he was worried that he left something behind, if they think that maybe he was trying to change right out there outside the house next to the car or on the side of the house. Maybe he's looking for something outside the house. Maybe he was considering going back in to look for the sheath. But it's so interesting, because when I was outside the house for all that time after the murders, there were weird things happening with the prosecutors and the police and the investigators and all the testing that they were doing. And there were just weird movements that they would do, walking to the door, going to the road. And I remember wondering what they were doing. And now that all these documents are coming out, it really sort of explains some of it. And I think some of what we saw were the test runs. They were trying to time it out and figure out how long it could have taken them. Because that's what.
And remember how much time they spent on Bethany's window? They spent the CSI guys spent a long time at Bethany's window too. Remember that?
One of the big perplexing things about the case is, like, how did you go to bedroom, stab all of those young kids and manage to get away and no one see a thing?
Right. And of course, the reason we ask that is because they say there's no blood in the car. So how would that terrible bloody scene have not transferred into the car? Did he take off, he, meaning the killer, take off all the bloody clothes before getting in that vehicle
And I believe that this is why we have the Dickies receipt that was found, that this is going to lead back to the monkey suit, which is a mechanic suit that I believe the perpetrator would have worn. And I believe this is why he didn't get in and out without people seeing him. Dylan did see him, and I believe Bethany saw him also taking off that monkey suit. And I'm not, the perpetrator is who he is. We know it was a male because Dylan tells us it was a male.
Darkness right there beside the house. So it's fascinating because we couldn't see inside the house. They pulled all the blinds, but when they came in and out of the house, we didn't know what they were doing when they were inside. And now, of course, we can't know because they tore the house down. So
so I think that's absolutely huge. We're gonna come back to that. Let me just share this with you. Okay. So this is from the prosecutor's office, Bill Thompson, and this is from Rylene L. Nolan. And we're going to talk about the DNA evidence next. And we're also going to talk about the text messages and social media use of the roommates. And we're going to look at enhanced photos from BK that I enhanced yesterday for you guys in just a moment. So please stay with me. But let's dig into the DNA next. So this is from Rylene Nolan. I'm over 18 and competent to make this affidavit based on my personal knowledge. I'm employed at the laboratory as a laboratory manager of the Idaho State Police Forensic Services Laboratory in Meridian, Idaho. I have been employed with ISPFS since November 2002 and have served as the Meridian Laboratory Manager since September of 2014. So this is an experienced person. It's 2025. So they've been there for a long time as manager. I'm currently qualified and proficiency tested as a DNA analyst. I've been qualified in DNA analysis since May of 2005. So that's 20 years. So at the time of the crimes, it would have been, 17, 18 years, depending on, when, I don't know when the DNA was tested. 5, there's not a consensus in the forensic DNA community that DNA lab analysts should not opine about DNA transfer, persistence, prevalence, and recovery DNA TPPR, although the recommendation 7.1 was included in the NIST report titled Forensics DNA Interpretation and Human Factors, Improving Practice Through a Systems Approach, published in May of 2024. There were 2 members of the working group who dissented from that recommendation. As a result, the recommendation was marked with an asterisk and a footnote documenting the non-consensus was included in the report. In addition, the report was published as a final draft and was never posted as a working draft for the wider community for public comment. There is a divide in the forensic DNA community on this topic. One side supports the NIST report's recommendation. The other side believes that not offering an opinion based on knowledge of molecular biology, DNA, when it may aid the triad of fact is unethical. At the most recent American Academy of Forensic Scientists meeting held in Baltimore in February of 2025, there were presentations supporting both sides of this argument and demonstrating the current divide of the community. The phrase touch DNA is widely used in forensic DNA community and was used in Dr. Ruth Ballard's expert witness disclosure. For this case, when referring to the DNA on the knife sheath, it is typically used to describe DNA collected from items of evidence in areas of the item that would be most likely touched by the user of the item. And obviously, if you have a snap that snaps it onto a belt, that you would, to remove the knife sheath from the belt, you would be unsnapping that, and to take it on or put it off to get to your knife, you would maybe be unsnapping and snapping it. So the term trace DNA implies amount. The word trace is defined as a very small and is used in the scientific literature when describing evidence. Samples with low amounts of DNA that do not yield a profile, only a partial profile. I would not be willing to use that term, and it would be inappropriate to apply that term to DNA on the knife sheath because a trace amount of DNA is not what was detected on item 1.1, and referring to it as trace DNA would be misleading to the tier of fact. I certify or declare under penalty of perjury to the law of the state of Idaho that the foregoing is true and correct. So this was signed on St. Patrick's Day of this year, March 17th. So this was from the prosecution's office. So let's talk about the DNA, guys. Let me pull this up. And we're going to go, I'm going to finish up with Ashley Banfield too, but I just want to get into the DNA. Let me grab that. And let me also, before I do that really quick, and we're going to do the roommates after we do the DNA. I get this in every single video that I do. Every single video I do, I am told there's no connections to the victims. The last one really triggered a couple of people, but because they said, the prosecutor even said there's no stalking. So I'll say this again, and I'll just show it. And those of you that have been with this channel know that, I reported this out last year, that in Idaho, there is a very narrow definition for what is considered stalking. The person has to knowingly and maliciously, seriously alarm, annoy, harass the victim, such as it would cause a reasonable person a substantial amount of distress, engage in a course of conduct that would cause a reasonable person to be in fear of being done away with, or physical injury, or that this person would physically injure a family member or household. And I've shared with you guys that I do not think that the statute of stalking applies. The word stalking doesn't apply in Idaho because of their narrow definition of what stalking is. And in my opinion, I do not think that the victims knew Bryan Kohberger even existed, let alone felt any of these things about him. So stalking does not apply, but this does not mean he did not have connections to the victims. He did, and it will come in as evidence. So I just wanted to share that with you. I've shared it. And let's talk about Maddie next. I've shared it with you guys, and those of you that have been with this channel for a while, we've already gone through this. So let's talk about Maddie. Let me make sure we're all looking at the same thing. Beautiful, precious Maddie. So I hope that answers the stalking question. I get it. And every time I talk about the connections with the victims, I get one or two comments like that. So, I'll just say it again. But just to be clear, the research that I showed you guys last week shows that if you don't want to take mainstream media's word for it, you don't want to take the Fox News or People Magazine or New York Post or any mainstream media words for it. Well, I provided you with another option. If you don't want to take Dateline NBC's word for it, I showed you the research that shows that he was following Kaylee and Maddie on Instagram. And we have the warrants. We know prosecution pulled Meta, which is the parent company of Facebook and Instagram. That is one of the warrants. And I believe they're doing that because this Instagram evidence is coming in. This is an educated speculation on my part, but but I do stand by my reporting that he did have connections to the victims. So the defense was there's been a lot of confusion also about the DNA that was found under Maddie's fingernails. And I think it's because of the way that the defense team read this. And I just think that people that, read the defense's word are just looking at that and thinking that that's the fact. Remember, when you're getting something from the prosecution, it's going to benefit the prosecution. When you're getting a motion from the defense, it's going to benefit the defense. So in this case, the defense does not want what was under Maddie Mogen's fingernails, those clippings, that DNA, they do not want that to be seen by the jury. They do not want the prosecution to present that evidence to the jury. Remember, if it's good for Bryan Kohberger, the defense team wants it to come in. If it's bad for Bryan Kohberger, they're going to file a motion to suppress, which means to keep the evidence out. Ann Taylor filed a motion to suppress the DNA evidence under Maddie Mogen's fingernails, which this tells me it's bad for the defense team. So I'm going to read to you what Ann Taylor says and then tell you, it's going to be up to the judge. It's not up to me. It's not up to you. It's not up to Ann Taylor. It's not up to Bill Thompson. It's going to be up to the judge to decide if this comes in or doesn't come in. So she says, this is Bicca Barlow, who's the defense attorney. She says, quote, allowing such testimony would violate Mr. Kohberger's federal and state constitutional rights to due process, a fair trial, effective assistance of counsel, and confrontation of the witnesses. She's a forensics DNA specialist. Now, in the grand jury testimony, a forensic scientist by the name of Jade Miller discussed the test results on a swab of fingernail clippings from Maddie's left hand. So according to the motion, this is just like so sad to think about Maddie's fingernail clippings. The defense argued that the testimony they feel it will confuse and mislead the jury, adding that the evidence is overly prejudicial. This is their argument. It doesn't mean that it is overly prejudicial. They've said that everything is overly prejudicial. This is like the Amazon searches are too prejudicial. So this is like their go-to. Okay. The document shows, this is again from the defense, that there was a preliminary testing done on the fingernail clippings and a likelihood ratio was calculated that, according to the defense, proved to be inconclusive. So who's saying that it's inconclusive? Not the prosecution. They have a likelihood ratio of that DNA belonging to Bryan Kohberger. Who thinks it's inconclusive? The defense team thinks they're claiming that it's inconclusive. So we have the prosecution saying that it's a likelihood ratio. The LR shows, and we don't know to what percentage, if it's 5%, 50%, 75%, 90%, 99%, I don't know. But showing that the DNA found underneath Maddie's fingernails, prosecution is saying that it matches Bryan Kohberger. The defense is saying that it's inconclusive. Okay, the judge gets to decide. The defense is claiming this will prejudice Bryan Kohberger. It might allow the jury to infer that the inconclusive data would mean that his DNA might be present in the sample. Now, we're going to hear the prosecution at the next hearing say that it was not inconclusive. They're going to say it was a match to Bryan Kohberger with a likelihood ratio. So we'll have to wait to see what the other half of the argument. According to the defense motion, the testing involved a comparison of hypotheses, not a statement or identity or probability of identity. So what their big beef is on this, what the defense team said in their motion is that, and obviously, Maddie fought back. What they're saying is that because the lab assumed that one of the three people who contributed the DNA to this fingernail clippings was Maddie Mogen, that's why they're saying it's inconclusive. That was the argument in the motion. Now, I don't know about you, but I think my fingernails have my DNA in them. I don't know if the judge is going to, but I'm not a DNA expert. I'm not a judge. I just think that I don't know how the judge is going to rule on this. I really don't. But this, so let's just go into when you see, this is from who is Maris? Let me see who I'm talking to. So they're saying, so what the defense say, they're saying there's only two hypotheses. This is the defense saying this, not the prosecution. That one belongs to Maddie, the other one is Kaylee, and the third one is unknown. The prosecution, and then the other hypothesis, again, this is the defense team saying this, one is the DNA belongs to Maddie, and the other two are unrelated. I don't know who the prosecution is going to say who the second person is, but I'm thinking it's Maddie. I think the prosecution is going to tell us that one belongs to Maddie, of course, one belongs to Kaylee, and the other one is a likelihood ratio of being Bryan Kohberger. That's what the prosecution is going to say. So this is going to be something that the judge is going to take up. He is going to decide this, but I just wanted to explain the DNA evidence so that because I think this is being misconstrued and there's been a lot of confusion about, what this DNA means. I've heard some people in my comment section telling me that the prosecution was trying to exclude the DNA evidence because it exonerated Bryan Kohberger. And I'm like, no. It's the opposite. The defense team wants to exclude the evidence. And they're saying it's inconclusive. They're not saying it exonerates Bryan Kohberger. If it exonerated him, they would want it to come in. They would be making sure it would be coming in. And the prosecution would probably be fighting to keep it out. It would be the opposite. So I just want to want to share that with you guys. I hope that I've answered your question on that. Let's get into the roommates. Let me play this while I pull the roommates up. We'll finish up with Ashley Banfield and Brian Ensign.
Massive detail, I think, to drop last night. I'd never seen this anywhere, and it was one mention. It didn't repeat itself anywhere in the other documents I saw, and that is that Dylan said she was 3 feet away from the killer. And I just stretched my arm out because I still cannot believe that this is how far roughly 3 feet is. And not only that, she saw him holding something.
Yeah, there was some interest.
And I had some great comments in the comment section too from you guys who felt like, that showed me like a piece of a vacuum cleaner that looked like, a knife, that it, could look like that in the dark. And I thought, that there was some really good sleuthing going on in the comment section last week. Really good sleuthing.
New nuggets involving Dylan, because they actually included the verbatim statements that she made to police officers when she was talking to them about what she saw. And she said that she saw the person in the house holding something. She did not give more specifics than that, but she said holding something. And something else that struck me, Ashley, I don't know if you noticed this, she talked about how she had seen the picture of Bryan Kohberger. She had seen him in the vest, and I'm assuming she's talking about the moment where he was in that bulletproof vest when we were out there and they pulled him off the plane when they brought him back to Pennsylvania. She must have been watching the news, and they asked her during this interview, well, does that look like the person that you saw? And she said, I have no clue. So she wasn't able to make that connection, but she did go back several times to the bushy eyebrows, which again, I think is why that creepy selfie picture is so important. That's why the prosecution is keying in on that. They want to show that picture to the jury and say, do you think these are bushy eyebrows? This is the last photo of him.
And you can see if you had a mask that was covering everything except the eyes, and his bone brow is forward, but also those eyebrows, to me, I think they look bushy. If you compare them to, like, if you're a female and you're comparing like his eyebrows to, and the defense team said, was trying to keep out Dylan's testimony. The judge said, no, she's going to testify. But the defense team didn't want Dylan to testify because she said Dylan had pictures of eyebrows in her room. And to me, that makes Dylan more credible. If she draws people and draws eyebrows, then, she would be more likely to notice a detail like that. But she didn't say that it was for sure him. So she didn't, embellish anything. I just, but we're going to talk about the text messages next. So let me go ahead and let's grab this. So let's talk about those text messages. Let me make sure we're all looking at the same thing and that I'm not blocking you. Let me move myself over here. Okay. So my sourcing on this is the Daily Mail. And so let's talk about these text messages because, boy, there's like more detail of what these girls were doing on their cell phones in the time frame between when Dylan saw the masked man and the moment the 911 call was placed. The record suggests that the survivors were on social media at some points during the time frame. A lot of people are really upset about this. After the aftermath of the intruder sighting, Bethany Funk made the first phone call to Dylan at 4:19 a.m. The records show. So we did think that when we were seeing the text messages going back and forth, that there was probably phone calls. Now we know that there were. For the next 18 minutes, the records show constant activity on both of their phones as they call and text each other. And they were calling and texting the other roommates, Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie. At 4:34 a.m., Bethany's cell phone accessed Snapchat, followed by Instagram at 4:37 a.m. Now maybe she was just looking to see if they were posting on there. Maybe she was trying to DM them on Instagram when they weren't answering their phone. I don't know. That, maybe that was common for them to talk to each other on Snapchat or Instagram. And that she could have also been using Snap Map to try to figure out if they were in the house. And at 4:34, Bethany's cell phone accessed the Snapchat, followed by the Instagram. And in the court document, the next cell phone activity is shown at 7:30 a.m. So they did not sleep for 8 hours like we originally thought. I thought they fell asleep. It seems like they did for a little bit, but they were up and at it. And Bethany calls her dad. She made several more calls and texts, including to her dad and mom. Now, between 8:41 and 8:42, Bethany also took photographs. So I don't know what the photographs were of. We'll have to wait to know. According to the defense document, Dylan's cell phone was on Instagram between 8:05 and 8:10 a.m. And I told you guys that if somebody was watching your social media, they would know when you got up, when you went to bed, when you were asleep, when you were awake. It's a lot of information is conveyed on this. At 10:03 to 10:04, Dylan was on Indeed. At 10:04, now she could have been messaging Maddie and Kaylee. I don't know. There could be like a perfectly innocent explanation for this. So I'm urging caution because, I don't know what this is going to show, but I have, I'm sure if the prosecution doesn't bring it up, I'm sure Ann Taylor will. And DM messages incoming and outgoing. Okay, so they were DMing at 10:04 to 10:23. And then at 10:23, DM did text Maddie. At 10:24 to 10:25, Dylan was back on Instagram. So it seems like they were messaging the girls on Instagram. Were they too scared to come out of their rooms? But if they were, why wouldn't they call the police at that point? At 11, unless they had been told, like they had made a pact, nobody would call the police. I mean, I don't know. At 11:29, Dylan texts Kaylee. At 11:29 to 11:32, she's on Instagram and messaging on Snapchat. So to me, it sounds like she's, in my opinion, messaging Dylan and Kaylee and Xana, And then at 11, we wondered what was up with the Yik Yak. Well, here it is, 11:35. Dylan was on Yik Yak, and I talked about what that app was and how it can track you. At 11:37, it's 11:36. Dylan was on TikTok. At 11:37, DM messages on Snapchat. 11:39, Dylan was texting with her dad. 11:49, Bethany calls JM. Don't know who JM is yet. 11:51, Bethany texts JM. 11:51, JM texts Bethany. 11:51, these are like just little increments. JM texts Bethany. 11:51, Bethany texts JM. 11:51, JM texts Bethany. So it doesn't sound like they were like thinking something terrible had happened. But I don't know what these text messages said. We'll have to wait to see what they say. 11:53, Bethany texts JM. 11:53, again, Bethany texts JM. 11:53, Bethany texts JM. 11:54, JM texts Bethany, 3 texts. 11:54 to 11:57, Dylan's back on Instagram. 11:56 is when Bethany's phone calls 911. So that's a lot more activity than what we even knew about a week ago. And I think that, I think if the prosecution doesn't address this, then the defense team should and will, unless Ann Taylor knows already what this is. But the defense does not reveal what the surviving roommates were doing on any of the platforms or sites, and so it's unclear if they were using them to try to contact the roommates and the friends. The context of the messages and phone calls has also not been revealed. It's also unclear from the records whether the cell phone user was actively using the platforms or if the platforms were simply open on the phone. So these apps like Snapchat and SnapMap, they run in the background even if you're not on them. Unless you offload the app off your phone, it will run in the background, just like Strava does. I talked to you guys about Strava during the last live stream and the fact that Bryan Kohberger had Strava on his phone and how that app runs in the background and even runs when you're on airplane mode. Now, Xana was also on TikTok on the night of the crimes, and it could be that she just had it open and it was running again in the background. We don't know yet. So we'll have to, see if somebody files a motion that tells us, or we might have to wait till the trial. It's also unclear. In the document, the defense points to the lapse in time between the panic text and the 911 call and argues that the 2 survivors could have fled the home but didn't. So the defense writes DM first claims confusion, then after communicating with Bethany Funk, claims fear to leave her room. Despite her stated fear of leaving her room, she does so and joins Bethany Funk downstairs. To get to Bethany Funk's room, Dylan passed the front door of the residence. Bethany Funk was steps from the front door. Neither of them left the house. Neither of them called friends, family, or law enforcement for help. So that hopefully will take away everybody saying that they called and invited all their friends over and that this was a pay-per-view event. The defense is telling us that neither one of them called their friends, family, or law enforcement for help. Okay, so Hunter and Emily stopped by because they were Ethan's friends. They were there to pick up Ethan. This is from the defense team. Instead of both having a substantial amount of activity beginning in earnest less than 4 hours after Dylan made her way to Bethany Funk's room, Bethany and Dylan communicate with friends and parents and DM on social media. So to me, it seems like they didn't know that, something catastrophic had happened. They thought there was a strange man in the house. They may have been upset about it, but in the morning, they were just up, being young teenagers. Maybe not. The defense filing continues. The second grouping of message the state claims fit within the exemption to the hearsay rule are those from DM to her roommates beginning at 10:23, 6 hours later. The state claims DM woke up and realized her roommates had not responded to her earlier texts. The state is wrong. DM was awake. She was messaging on Snapchat. She was on Instagram and she texts with her dad. And this is not an exhaustive list of activity on her phone. She was with Bethany Funk, who was also communicating with her parents and then later friends. In a court document, the defense accuses the state of having selected text messaging as excited utterances and present a sense impression rather than giving the full picture of the cell phone activity during the critical time period. Now, I think if they're going to let in some of the text messages, I would think the judge would let them all come in. Let me know what you think. If I feel like the judge will let them all come in, but we'll see. But what the defense doesn't want to just let them all come in. The defense wants the judge to block the text messages as evidence at the trial and urges the court to look at everything that occurred. So they don't want to just, I think the right thing to do would be, let's bring all of the text messages in, right? But that's not what Ann Taylor wants to do. The defense team says they don't want any of the text messages to come in. Now, I don't get to decide this. You don't get to decide this. The prosecution doesn't get to decide this. The defense doesn't get to decide this. Judge gets to decide this. So I think it's interesting that she doesn't want any of them to come in. So that makes me wonder if in the context of these messages, which Ann Taylor would be privy to, if and social media activity really is a nothing burger, and she's just looking to try to keep the other stuff out. I don't know. But to me, the right thing would be to just have it all come in. Either all come in or nothing come in. That seems like the fairest way to me. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. So the defense, this comes after we got that 911 call. And I'm not going to play that because it's just so disturbing. And now we know from everything that this image that I'm showing you right here, that was not from Xana, that was from Ethan. And that's how badly he was hurt. I'm watching my words here. All right, so I hope that has cleared that up. Let me let's see where I am on all this. I want to make sure I haven't left anything out. We have to still do the enhanced photos. Okay, so let me check in with the chat and then we'll do enhanced photos next. Let me put this on something that's not so there. Let's remember the victims. Okay, let me check in with chat. Let me see. I did do the poll. I wanted to see if you guys did it. I know I'm behind on chat. I'm so sorry, you guys. Let me see if we have any ones or twos. I'm just looking to see if you guys did the poll. Hey, Mace. Mace says, if she touched me, I don't think I would have objected. Maddie was also touched at the Mad Greek that night. Touching? I don't know. I haven't heard about that, Mountain Guy. Let me back up so I can see what the context is on this conversation. Mike said, I bet he had a list of targets. I think we're going to learn so much more at the trial. I think so too. The fact that he was trying to get another knife, if he's found guilty of this, if he did do this, to me says that there was more plans in the works. Thanks for modding today, Jody. Marco says that's Ann Taylor's favorite word now. And Jazz agrees with you, Mike. Christy agrees with you, Mike. Tracy says, no way can they keep the clippings out. Leslie said, trial should show us a lot more. Yeah, and I'm going to air the trial on this channel. If you want to watch it together as a true crime community, we're going to watch it together. A lot of us are. Mountain Guy, thank you so much for your positivity and your encouragement. Mike says, I think there's going to be some bigger things we don't know about. I agree. I still think there's a lot we don't know. I think we are going to see connections to the victims. I've told you that, and I still believe that. Lola said, BK must have had some nasty scratches. Well, I'm going to show you. I enhanced the photos. We're going to look at those next. Patty says, I was wrong. The first time I saw that picture of him, I thought it looked like a shower curtain was one of the sliding doors, but now I've expanded the pictures, the bar and the shower curtain is more visible. Yeah, there's a wider picture of the picture, I think, that you're looking at. I do have a Facebook group. If you want to join us, just type in Idaho students and or Idaho 4 and Reporter Room. It should come up. Yeah, please give this a thumbs up. Let YouTube know I'm doing a Jew-rated show here. Lisa said, I didn't think Maddie had a chance to fight back. Well, I think he would have been surprised that Kaylee was in the room. And remember, Christy and Steve Goncalves, Kaylee's mom and dad, said that Kaylee was trapped between Maddie and the wall. She was sleeping in the bed closest to the wall, and Maddie was on the outside. So, and I don't think the crime sounded like what we think they sounded like, because Ethan and Xana didn't call 911 either. Let me know if you have a different opinion. Texas Bluebonnet says the second attempt for the same knife, and she looks like he was trying to cover his tracks. He just keeps making the hole deeper that he finds himself in. The present, the judge is tired of the BS. Yeah, I think the judge is a lot stricter than the Latah County judge, John Judge. I think he was giving, more leeway than this judge does. And I just think this judge, I still think he's really fair. I just think, he's like, that's fine. You guys we'll have the hearing, no problem. But I'm not, if I want, and you can have the witnesses that you want to present. If I have any questions, I'll ask them. But he's just keeping it moving forward. What he doesn't want is more delays. Marco said, you'd be surprised how much damage a perpetrator with a knife can do. Yeah, especially that knife. There was somebody who showed a picture of it, and they showed their body, and they showed the knife, and the knife is wider than I am. It would poke out the back of me. If it came into the front of me, it would stick out the back of me like that much. It's 7 inches. So yeah. They said, didn't she spend the night out and at the grub truck, possibly hugging and touching people? Yeah. They were at the corner club and they were at the grub truck. Yeah, she did. Leslie said 89 thumbs up and 500 people in chat. Can we do better? Yeah, please give this a thumbs up. It's free. Subscribe. It's also free. Mountain Guy says Maddie was at the Mad Greek that night. May says, okay, so this helps me give context. If she touched me, I don't think I would have objected. Everybody thinks Maddie's so pretty. She is. Leslie, please give this a thumbs up. All right, so yeah, they were at the corner club. Mountain Guy is correct. Corner club. It was a bar, and Jazz. It was a bar. Bushy eyebrows. Yeah, I do think the eyebrows look bushy. I do. Lolo thinks the eyebrows are definitely bushy. Brian probably went home and thinned them out. Kathleen said, I could never forget those eyes or eyebrows. Leslie said, I think they look like caterpillars. A lot of comments from the women on the eyebrows. So maybe men see eyebrows differently because you look at your own eyebrows, but we look at ours. And, so to a female, I do think a young female like Dylan, who was 19 at the time, I do think those eyebrows would have looked a bit bushy. I would have said they were bushy. I would have said they're bushy. So Marco thinks he is all eyebrows. Donna thinks it's creepy. Lolo says his eyes and eyebrows are very distinctive. Mike thinks with the mask only showing eyes and eyebrows. Yeah, if you think that you only saw this much of him, then and you don't see the nose, then those bushy eyebrows would have been even more prominent. Hey, Wicked, caterpillar eyebrows. Mace, thank you so much for the $10, 10 pounds. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Mace. That is so nice of you. Thank you so, so much. And I'm really grateful. Thank you to NJAS for gifting a reporter room membership. If you got that, please let me know who you are. And thank you so much. And May says, thank you for all your hard work. Jessica, your channel is way better than mainstream. Thank you so much. I just think I have more time to focus on individual cases where they have to, they're reporting out on the daily news. I don't have to worry about any of the daily things. I could really dig into this case for you guys, and I'm happy to do it. And NJAS has been giving out memberships, and I'm going to be giving out memberships too. I'm giving away 10 memberships to celebrate our 40K anniversary. And then we also have a giveaway on the video that I posted yesterday because we rolled over from 39,999 to 40,000 subscribers yesterday. We're over that now, but that's where we were yesterday. Pam from New York, thank you so much for the $9.99. Thank you so much. And Leslie, keep it real. Hit the thumbs up and help Jessica. Thank you, Leslie, so, so much. And Kimmy, thank you for your $4.99. She says, thanks, Jessica, for all of your work you put into your content. If you like straight facts, critical thinking, and zero drama, welcome. Wow. Thank you. And that's my alarm telling me to show you guys those pictures. So let me grab those. So because I didn't want to run out of time. Let me add this in. Okay, we're going to be looking at enhanced photos. I enhanced photos of his hand. Let me take down the banner. Oh, and you know what? Before I forget, let me just say to the producers, thank you so much to NJAS, Sasha Angel, George Brown, Pepper, Lisa Fazio. Thank you to our channel members. And we're going to look at those enhanced photos next. I just want to make sure I didn't get so far into my time that I wasn't paying attention and didn't show you the enhanced photos. A couple weeks ago, I ran out of time and I didn't get to go through one of the apps I had promised to do a deep dive on. And we did it on the next live stream, but I felt bad. So I set an alarm this time to just give me a, this is time to move on into that part. So thank you to all our channel members. If you want your name to appear like this, just hit the join button. It's next to the subscribe button. Subscribing is free. And thank you. This is super thanks and coffee gratitude for the last few days. I really, really appreciate all of you guys and gifted channel memberships, multiple gifted channel memberships from NJazz. Okay, so let's dig into this video. I'm not going to maybe I will pause and comment. So I did see some things right out of the gate when I was looking at this. You can see between the thumb and right here. People had said they thought they saw a bruise on his face. I zeroed in on that. Some people thought they saw something on his neck right here. I zeroed in on that. Some people felt like his knuckles were red and swollen. I zeroed in on that. So let's just look at everything. I put different filters on it and did all this for you guys yesterday. Let me add it in. And I'm not telling you what to see or not to see. I just zeroed in on parts that people were pointing out to me. That's the neck. That's the knuckles and the hand. And I did put different filters on it. That's the thumb. I do think there is a blister there. And you can really see it there. And then it looks like there might be something down here as well. And in my opinion, that would be from holding the knife, if he's guilty. So I did try to just put different filters on it. So this, I did also believe that I'm curious what you guys see. I did also think that maybe I saw something, at the neck, that there was like a little mark there. And that's maybe why he had the shirt all buttoned up. I don't know. But for sure on the hands, I see a blister there. I do believe that is a blister right here in the pocket of his hand and also right here. When I put different filters on it, it really popped out. I also thought that the hand looked swollen, but it's hard for me to say for sure. To me, the fingers do look a little swollen, but I don't have access to see the other hand. So I don't have, if I could see those side by side, I could tell you for sure. So anyway, let me know what you think. What do you see in the comment section below? I'm really curious. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And I'm going to head over right now and do the Sebastian Rogers case. And I have an update on Riley Strain also. If you want to head over there, I'm going to close this out and go over there right now. So please consider subscribing. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come by and spend a little bit of time with me. I'm always happy to see you. And thank you for all of you who were kind enough and generous enough to subscribe. It's free. And you got me to the 40,000 subscribers. I really do appreciate your kindness and your helping me out so much. You guys are awesome. And I will see you. We'll have another live stream on this case on Tuesday with a lot more information.